There was a time in WWE when noteworthy matches could happen on weekly television shows and you'd never see it coming. It feels like we can skip over episodes of Raw and Smackdown and modern WWE and not miss much at all, but going back a few decades, you would get treated to matches and moments that could have enough significance that we still talk about them to this very day. The Undertaker vs Jeff Hardy on the 1st of July 2002 episode of Raw was one of those matches. On paper, it looks like your typical underdog match. Dominant and experienced heel champion takes on young fan favourite with a lot of heart who's yet to truly reach the top of the mountain. It sounded predictable. The Undertaker was going to destroy this youngster while reminding him never to step up again, and indeed, Jeff Hardy got destroyed on this night. But a little storytelling goes a long way, and even in defeat, Jeff Hardy came out of this ladder match looking better than ever. Another fine example of a guy losing a match and still looking like $1,000,000 when all was said and done. Let's take a look at the night Jeff Hardy wrestled The Undertaker in a ladder match on Monday Night Raw. We want to establish where both guys were in their careers when this match took place because it provides the whole match with a lot more context. Taker was in the middle of his big evil run and he won the WWE Undisputed Championship 2 months prior from Hollywood Hogan. The Undisputed Champion would not be exclusive to Raw or Smackdown after the brand split, meaning the champ could attend both shows and defend the title against superstars from either brand. The Dead Man had a real mean streak before the July 1st episode of Raw. The heel version of Big Evil was an ass kicker, plain and simple, and he had no issues taking shortcuts either if it guaranteed him a victory or an opportunity to hurt his enemies. Quite simply, you did not want to mess with The Undertaker during this particular run. That's what made the Jeff Hardy match so important. Guys bigger and stronger than Jeff stepped up to The Undertaker and they all failed, from Hogan to Triple H. What made the Hardy Boy think he actually had a hope in hell of defeating the Undisputed Champion? Well, we'll come back to that in a moment. Something I will say though, and this is irrelevant to this video, but the way the WWE treated the Undisputed Championship in 2002 after the brand split provides us with a great argument about why there should only be one major title in the whole company. The way they booked the championship in 2002 and how they created rivalries and matches on both shows centered around one championship belt was really well done. I thought so anyway. Jeff Hardy was still working tag team matches during this time period, but he was known to branch out to singles competition every now and then. He did have a short run with the IC title along with the Light Heavyweight Championship and Hardcore Championship, and it did not matter if Jeff was wrestling singles or tag, the fans absolutely loved him. His carefree attitude was both a blessing and a curse, it seemed. It's gotten him in trouble over the years, but it's that same attitude that made people pay attention to Jeff in the ring. He was a daredevil, a risk taker, and his in-ring abilities mixing with his look and mannerisms created a superstar that was really very unique. I know a lot of older fans can either take it or leave it when it comes to Jeff Hardy, and I also understand that many preferred the more grounded work of his brother Matt. I'm one of those people who enjoyed Matt's work a little more, mainly due to the V1 run, but I still think Jeff was an incredible one-of-a-kind performer who had an undeniably devoted fan base. Jeff was always in that mid-card or upper mid-card spot in the WWE though. It's not a bad thing either, by the way, but the Undisputed title being carried by Jeff Hardy was something fans thought they'd never see. The Hardys were always in the same spots more or less during their rise in popularity, so the thought of Jeff being the face of the company didn't really feel like it was ever going to happen. If he fought any main champion during this era, he would always be the underdog. A month before the Taker vs Hardy ladder match took place, Jeff Hardy was playing his guitar backstage and brother Matt wondered why his brother was sitting around doing practically nothing with his day. Jeff asked his brother to remember back when the Hardy Boys used to live for the moment. It feels like recently neither Matt nor Jeff are as extreme as they once were and they'd forgotten to take risks and push the limits. Matt wondered where Jeff was going with all this and Jeff told Matt to sit back and watch. Tommy Dreamer was booked in a match against The Undertaker on this particular episode of Raw, and the thought of wrestling Big Evil made Tommy sick to his stomach, literally. He was throwing up backstage into a big old bucket. Taker and Tommy go to the ring for their match and Tommy's in a real bad way. He tries to use his own vomit to gross out The Undertaker, but it doesn't work. It just pisses The Undertaker off. The Undisputed Champ wins this one with a Dragon Sleeper, and after the bout, The Undertaker decided to pour the contents of the bucket all over Tommy. That's when Jeff Hardy showed up. Jeff kicks the dead man into Dreamer and Big Evil's covered in Tommy's vomit. Jeff runs back up the entranceway, Taker stares at the man who just embarrassed him, and you just know that the inevitable payback's gonna be hell. Taker went looking for Jeff, but he found Matt instead. Jeff had left the arena, so the dead man took it out on his brother. The next week, the Undertaker said he knows Jeff likes to live in the moment, but the champ wonders if Jeff's ready to die in the same moment. The dead man gives Jeff two options. He can come to the ring now and get slapped around like the little bitch he is, that's Taker's words, not mine, or Jeff can hide in the back and he can let the Undertaker hunt him down, but Jeff might want to think twice about that, because the dead man promises to inflict more pain on Hardy than he ever thought was humanly possible if the Undertaker has to go looking for him. The Hardy Boyz music plays in the arena, but it's Matt who comes out with a ladder. Matt says the Undertaker disrespected him last week, and Taker tells Matt to come to the ring so he can disrespect him again. Taker's then quick to notice Jeff Hardy jumping off the turnbuckle, and Jeff takes a ridiculously high impact choke slam. Matt rushes to the ring and he starts fighting the Undisputed Champion, but Taker's just too much. The dead man wipes the floor with Matt, but Jeff wakes up and, together, the Hardy Boyz are able to bring the dead man down. Taker gets hit with the ladder and Jeff performs a leg drop from the top of the ladder before the Hardys make their exit. Taker's left on the canvas and it looks like that payback just got a whole lot worse. Big Evil got himself a match against Matt Hardy the following week on Raw, but that doesn't mean he'd forgotten about Jeff. Taker watched Jeff defeat Raven and he told Jeff afterwards to watch his back. Clearly, the dead man wasn't going to let Jeff get away with what he did. Matt Hardy, though, didn't put up much of a fight during his match with The Undertaker later in the night. He started off with a low blow and he managed to counter the last ride with a DDT, but Matt also ran into a chokeslam. That would have been the end of the match if Jeff didn't show up to pull the referee out of the ring. Jeff gets inside the ropes and he and Undertaker fight it out. Jeff goes for the swanton, but Raven shows up and Jeff gets pushed off the top rope. Matt then gets planted with The Undertaker's last ride and The Undertaker wins the match. Raven ends up handcuffing Jeff to the top rope. Jeff gets annihilated by the dead man, and Raven makes sure Matt can't do anything about it by restraining him on the canvas. After the bout, Terry Runnels interviews The Undertaker and he says that's what happens when you try to make a name for yourself at The Undertaker's expense. Jeff Hardy just learned a valuable lesson tonight. Next up was the King of the Ring show, and The Undertaker did not wrestle Matt or Jeff Hardy at that pay-per-view. As a matter of fact, he didn't wrestle anyone from the Raw brand. He took on SmackDown's Triple H. Over on the Blue brand, The Undertaker's storyline was completely different and completely unrelated to what was happening on Monday nights, and this was thanks to Taker being the Undisputed Champion. The dead man had different enemies on different shows, and both of Undertaker's storylines at this time were worth watching. I know the WWE has tried to do this again recently, but it just hasn't been the same. But anyway, Triple H was unable to win the Undisputed belt at the King of the Ring show. The Rock made an appearance at the event, and Taker decided to cheap shot the People's Champion with a big boot. Rock came back at the dead man, but he ended up accidentally hitting Triple H with a steel chair. Rock would hit the rock bottom on the champ inside the ropes, but it didn't matter. A low blow to Triple H secured the win for The Undertaker, and Big Evil retained the Undisputed Championship. The Rock and Kurt Angle would end up facing The Undertaker at the Vengeance pay-per-view the following month, but before Taker had to deal with that triple threat match, he had some unfinished business over on Raw. On the Raw following King of the Ring, Vince McMahon delivered his famous Ruthless Aggression promo. McMahon wanted to answer a question that most of the guys surrounding the ring had asked him at one point or another. What's the secret? What makes someone so successful? Ruthless aggression. It's the one quality that led to Vince McMahon destroying other promotions. He beat the government with ruthless aggression, he won the Monday Night War with ruthless aggression, and if any of these superstars surrounding the ring want to take the next step in their careers, they too will need to show ruthless aggression. Couldn't help thinking that McMahon could use some of that ruthless aggression in 2022, but anyway, McMahon tells Jeff Hardy that he's got himself a match with The Undertaker. Jeff now knows the secret to success. All he has to do is show it in his match later in the evening. He won't be getting any help from brother Matt because Matt's banned from ringside. Taker, meanwhile, wasn't in the mood. He wanted to get his hands on The Rock. McMahon was unable to bring Rock to Raw, but Vince thought Jeff Hardy would be a good substitute. Taker says he heard Vince's promo earlier and he knows Vince is looking for new stars, so Taker's gonna make Jeff famous, but he's gonna do it the old-fashioned way. The two make their way down to the ring, and it's complete destruction from The Undertaker to start us off. Hardy gets rammed into the ring post, he takes a few shots in the corner before Taker delivers a power slam. Jeff gets up, he tries to fight back, but his punches have absolutely no effect. Hardy gets put right back on the mat. Taker then goes for a leg drop while Jeff's draped over the apron, but Jeff gets out of the way, and now Hardy has a chance. He performs a plancha, and the dead man goes down. Jeff tries to keep his momentum up with a dive from the barrier, but Taker catches him, and that's all she wrote. Hardy gets chokeslammed on the outside. Taker brings his opponent back inside the ring where Jeff takes his last ride, and The Undertaker defeats Jeff Hardy in this non-title match quite easily. This was nothing but a glorified squash. Taker leaves the ring, he has nothing left to prove, but Jeff shows some of that ruthless aggression by making a challenge to the dead man. Jeff says The Undertaker kicks his ass time and time again. It just happened again tonight, but Jeff wants to fight The Undertaker his way, and Jeff wants the undisputed title put up for grabs. Jeff challenges The Undertaker to a ladder match on Raw next week, and Taker accepts the challenge. Undertaker looks at Jeff like the Hardy Boy just made a big mistake, but the match is on, and it takes place on July 1st, 2002. Legitimately though, when Taker heard he was wrestling a ladder match, he wasn't too thrilled about it because The Undertaker and ladder matches just didn't go hand in hand. It wasn't his thing at all. Taker may have gotten a bit confused over the dates here in this following quote as he learned about the match a week prior, but Taker said, "I do remember getting to the arena that day and I had no clue I was in a ladder match until I got there. I was like, I wasn't real thrilled about it. I was like, it's really not my forte, it's not what I do best, but it did put a shine on Jeff and the things he did. It was good because it took me out of my comfort zone, made me try and reach for something else because I wanted the match to obviously be successful." Jeff Hardy said, "It was weird because ladders were like my thing at the time, my big thing from the other TLC matches and whatnot. So for Taker to do that for me was just huge for me in general, especially for my solo career without Matt. It just did wonders for me." Terry Runnels wants to know what The Undertaker thinks about his ladder match tonight on Raw, but Undertaker talks about his opponents over on SmackDown, Kurt Angle and The Rock. Terry wonders if The Undertaker's even a bit concerned tonight, seeing as he's never been in a ladder match before, and this was true by the way. Taker ends the interview early and he doesn't answer the question. Vince McMahon then makes a comment about Taker facing The Rock, whether Taker's champion or not at the Vengeance pay-per-view, and The Undertaker didn't take too kindly about McMahon showing any kind of doubt about the outcome of the ladder match. Taker promises that not only will he beat Jeff tonight in the main event, and not only will Taker leave still Undisputed Champion, but Jeff Hardy won't be able to stand up when the match is over. Gotta point out the way Vince looks at Taker at the end of the promo. There's a million different facial expressions here. Matt Hardy wishes his brother luck, and he's got someone else who wants to show Jeff some support. Lita's here to wish Jeff luck also. Lita was out with an injury during this time period, obviously. Jeff gets all fired up as he leaves the dressing room, and I don't think anyone, not Taker, not Jeff, not anyone watching at home, could have predicted that this match would be talked about for a very long time after all was said and done. The belt's suspended in the air, Taker makes his way down to the ring first, Jeff takes a deep breath as he approaches the ring, and it's now time for the ladder match. Showing a little more of that ruthless aggression, Jeff decides to take a seat on The Undertaker's motorbike. Taker goes after Jeff, but it was all a setup to give Jeff an early advantage. The ladder gets kicked and Taker goes down. Jeff then performs a plancha just like the week prior, and Taker gets cracked on the head with a steel chair. So far, so good. Hardy throws the ladder at Taker, Taker catches it, but it's the champ who takes a bump when charging at the challenger, but still, Taker wipes Jeff out with a clothesline. Undertaker takes his sweet time beating Jeff up at the guardrail. He tries launching Jeff into the ladder, but Hardy counters, and already Jeff's had way more chances than last week. This match type suits Jeff way more. Hardy performs a seated senton while Taker's stuck under the ladder. Jeff then tries to get back in the ring and win this thing, but Taker hitting the bottom of the ladder makes the top of the ladder smash in Jeff's face, and Taker kicks the ladder into Jeff's back just for good measure. The champion then hits Jeff while he was standing on the apron, and Hardy falls onto the commentary table. And that should be it all over. Taker begins climbing the ladder, but he stops and he has second thoughts. He wants to punish Hardy a little more, so he climbs back down and Jeff gets destroyed once again. This time around the commentary desk. Taker drops Jeff on the table, he rams his head into the table, he throws Jeff into the timekeeper's area, and Jeff takes a shot with a chair. Big Evil's making Jeff Hardy pay for what he did a month ago during that Tommy Dreamer match. Back in the ring, Taker drives Hardy's head into the ladder. Taker then leans the ladder over the bottom rope and he goes to finish Hardy for good. But Jeff fires up and Jeff fights back. Hardy's burst of offense gets the crowd riled up, but a big right hand from the Undisputed Champ puts Jeff right back on the mat. Undertaker can't believe that Jeff got back up, so it's time for a little more punishment. Jeff gets crushed inside the ladder with an Undertaker leg drop on the apron. Hardy then takes a clothesline in the corner. Once Taker gets back inside, Jeff gets thrown into the ladder that's now leaning against the corner, and Taker lines up a big boot. The dead man runs at Jeff, looking to knock him out cold, but Jeff moves out of the way and Taker hits the ladder. Jeff's then able to perform a whisper in the wind, but Taker doesn't stay down for too long. The champ comes back with a big boot and Jeff rolls out of the ring. Taker follows and he says, "Now it's over," before setting up Hardy for the last ride, but a low blow buys Jeff a little more time. Jeff, though, is once again going to live in the moment and he uses the ladder as a trampoline, wiping Taker out with a somersault plancha. Hardy then pulls out an extra large ladder from under the ring and he sets it up under the belt. He begins to climb. Undertaker stops Jeff and Hardy ends up in position for the last ride, but Jeff counters with a Hurricane Rana that sends Taker straight out of the ring. This is Jeff's best chance and probably his last. He climbs up the ladder again. Jim Ross loses his mind on commentary. Jeff's inches away from becoming Undisputed Champion, but Taker gets back in the ring and a chair shot stops Jeff in his tracks. Taker hits Hardy with the chair after pulling him down from the ladder. Big Evil sets up the last ride, but Hardy grabs the chair and Taker takes a shot to the head. Jeff then swings the chair hard into Taker's face, and the crowd now truly believe that Jeff Hardy can become Undisputed Champion. The atmosphere in the arena is so good. Adrenaline flows through Jeff as he begins the climb once again. Jeff's going to make himself famous at the expense of The Undertaker. He's going to show McMahon that he does have ruthless aggression. Jeff touches the belt, he's almost got it, but then The Undertaker stands up and Jeff takes more chair shots to the back. There's a hush in the audience as the crowd gets brought back to reality. Hardy isn't done yet. He and Taker are now both on the ladder and once again Jeff gets his hand on the belt, but on this night Hardy wasn't able to defeat The Undertaker. The dead man chokeslams Jeff and The Undertaker grabs the belt. Taker wins an exciting and hard-fought matchup in the main event of Monday Night Raw. A tired Undertaker takes his belt, he gets on his motorcycle, but he notices that Jeff's trying to get back to his feet. Remember, Taker promised McMahon that Jeff would not be able to stand up after this match? Well, Jeff's about to stand up. So Taker gets in the ring and Jeff Hardy goes on his last ride. Taker shakes his head, he gets back on his motorcycle, but Jeff Hardy still isn't through. Jeff grabs a mic and he says The Undertaker hasn't broke him, he's still standing. So Taker gets pissed off and he marches back down to the ring. Taker grabs Jeff by the hair, he lines up the knockout punch, and Jeff is totally defenseless. Jeff's willing to get knocked out to prove a point, and that's something The Undertaker respects. Undertaker doesn't swing that final punch, instead he raises Jeff's hand and Jeff can't believe it. He's just earned the respect of The Undertaker. You can see Taker say, "That's one tough son of a bitch," as Hardy falls back to the mat, and the crowd then applaud both men. Jeff Hardy came out of this one looking great even though he just got destroyed, and The Undertaker got back a lot of fan support. As a matter of fact, he turned babyface shortly afterwards. Taker would go on to the WWE Vengeance pay-per-view where he lost the title to The Rock in a triple threat match. As for Jeff, he would win the European Championship the week after the ladder match, but the reign was short. Not long after the title win, the European and Intercontinental Championships would get unified in another ladder match. IC Champion RVD took on European Champion Jeff Hardy, and Rob Van Dam won that match. But the Undertaker ladder match on July 1st, 2002 got Jeff Hardy a ton of new fans because he wouldn't back down, and still to this day, it's one of my favourite Jeff Hardy matches. Jeff Hardy said, "The whole story was the underdog versus the man and the legend, but he couldn't keep the underdog down no matter what he did. And then the sign of respect at the end and me collapsing as Raw goes off the air with me looking at my hand like, did that really just happen? It was a miracle." The Undertaker said, "Those are the kind of things that happen that just help you creatively because you do get comfortable sometimes doing the same things. It pushed me and it allowed me to push Jeff and him be able to shine in his kind of match." I'm very proud of that match. I think it might have been the only ladder match I was ever in. I can't think off the top of my head of another one. We got it right the first time, we didn't have to do it again.